Welcome to Tracy Momi Reads. I am back again with another book review. First book review of June. It's the summer, people. Today, I am going to be talking about the book Behind the Scenes by Christina C. Jones. Behind the Scenes. Hopefully this light isn't too bright. I'm going to just do this one little thing to see if y'all can still see it. Well, there's the book cover there. I really enjoyed this one. It is in the romance genre. And I'm going to look at this blurb and tell y'all what it's about so that I don't do too much, right? So it has these words at the top. It says perfect, privileged, strong, spoiled, uptight, useless. If there's one thing Pierre and Logan have in common, it's their ability to invite snap judgments based on shallow views of who they are. Okay? Logan is the privileged only daughter of a respected family whose legacy runs long and deep. Pierre is the moody orphan son of big screen royalty who couldn't possibly live up to the prestige of his pedigree. Or maybe not. Perhaps they're just two people trying to navigate the pressures of a world hell-bent on telling them what they should be and eschewing the limits of other people's expectations. Maybe what they need most is somebody who can see beyond the shallow first impressions. Just one person they can allow to see behind the scenes of who they are. Maybe they have more in common than it seems. And I like how the author tied in behind the scenes with the title, because she's saying like they're allowing each other to see behind the scenes of who they are, but also the world that the story is set in is a movie. So when you think behind the scenes, so I guess it's like a double entendre. It has, multiple meanings. So Logan has this boutique business where she's a personal assistant, but like, maybe to like the 10th power. Like she does more than, it's just not like she does clerical or office type stuff. I mean, she'll do that if it's necessary, but she has connections. Like she can set up things that maybe her clients weren't expecting and help them reach the next level, like in their careers. It's almost like she's kind of, I know a lot of times they use the term kingmaker with people that help people with political aspirations, but she does that type of, stuff for people in various industries. And she happens to be hired to do that for Pierre, by his aunt, I think, because he is like the blurb says, his father was, I can't remember if he was a director or just an actor, if he was both, but Pierre is kind of like, been just living the life, spoiled, taking advantage of his father's fame and not really focused on, doing anything else. And because I think he tried at one point, and probably his father's jealousy, it's like he wasn't really supported. So he was just like, well, this is what I'm gonna do. But now he's older and he's been having this story he wants to tell. So that's what he wants to do. And he wants to be taken seriously. He's left the partying behind and the whole bad boy image. And what's crazy is, so let's back up. The first initial meeting between Logan and Pierre was not at the office, not when, they first met in a professional setting where she showed up after his aunt hired her. No. They had met prior. And I don't know if it was like a day or two before, a week before. That part I can't remember. But I do remember, story opens, Logan has left, her boyfriend, fiance's house or whatever, and it's like a breakup type situation. And she's driving, and it's late at night, and, he keeps texting her. He's like blowing up her phone, and she takes her eyes off the road for a minute. And she hits somebody's car. And it happens to be Pierre. At this point, first impression, first time they've ever met, she doesn't know that that's going to be her new client. He doesn't even know that she's been hired. So it is just totally like they don't know who, the other person is. But even from like that encounter on the street, it's like you feel the chemistry, and they feel it too. They know, okay, this something is here. What's going on here? This is a stranger, and I'm out here. I think she even had her pajamas on or something. But they had this connection that led into a little bit more. Okay, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. But anyway, let's get back to Logan being his assistant. Like, once she learned, because she didn't even know who he was, but once she learns who he was, obviously, if you Google somebody or the news or, the rumors or people that that know somebody, all these things keep coming up about this person, you will start to form opinions and think that's who they are, because there have just been too many stories and too many accounts, right, for you to think anything else until you get to know the person. And it was similar with him. Like, I think he kind of found out who she was, like, based on what her family, they had a business that they'd been in for a long time. So he had some preconceived notions about her as well. And I think it's funny that even though that they both had their guards way down when they first met, that they immediately, erected these walls like, oh, this is who you are, when they had intimate knowledge of this person being different. And I think that kind of helped, as their relationship went along. And they tried as hard as they could to be professional, but it's just that magnetic thing that just kept pulling them together. But the thing about it is that she's really, really good at her job, and he really wants to succeed. So they kind of tabled the other part of it for a while to get him, off to a good start, where, this series that you're writing, that this can actually become a thing, and it's going to be good, and it's going to be powerful. And she knew helping him achieve his goal would help her to ascend as well, because people found out, oh, this is the person that he used to help him, I want to hire this person, whatever. And that, because she was trying to break away from her family, she didn't really want to go into the family business. She wanted to do her own thing. So this was like really a proving point for both of them. So their mutual success, no matter what else was going on, is what they ultimately needed to do, was to stay focused. But I love the fact, and I think I know I've read other Christina Jones books, and I think that this is something that I've said about her other stories as well, her other romance stories. She always has this element of open communication. What I do not like, I don't like the formulaic romance stories where there's this miscommunication, where they break up, and had they just asked or said something, we could have avoided all that, right? And all of the books that I've read by her, and specifically this one, there's that element of open communication, whether, it means the end of us, or it means the beginning, or it means you get mad or you get your feelings hurt. This is how I feel about it. This is what happened. This is what's true. And, I think that if more real life relationships follow this pattern, people would find themselves either leaving situations they should have left a long time ago, or they would learn better communication skills and end up potentially with the love of their life. That's all I'm saying. Communication goes a long way. Yeah, it would, and everything seemed like realistic, like it could actually have happened. I didn't find anything to be too far-fetched. Like I said, their chemistry, the story itself, and how they both, you could see the growth, with Logan and with Pierre. And the author gave us like enough backstory, like, because we have to go back to talking about Logan's fiance and how that whole thing came to be, and why she left him, and how, she ended up on the street the night that she met Pierre, and what led to Pierre stopping, his wild ways. And was he that wild? And yes, he was. So I like that it wasn't like, she didn't give us chapter upon chapter of the backstories, but she put it into the story in places where it made sense to give us more clarity, on what was going on in their minds and maybe why they had these trepidations about, getting entangled with somebody else. The spice was spicing. The pacing was good. And I also because I read a story not too long ago. I can't remember the author, but I will tell you, it made me so mad because for the majority of this story, the author talked about this big project that the main male character was working on, and I think it was a similar thing. The female main character was helping him with it or whatever, and kind of how their relationship unfolded, blah blah blah. And we got a relationship, and they got past obstacles. She never told us what happened with that project. I mean, and it was an integral part of the story, right? Not so in this book, because we do a lot of behind the scenes on set type stuff. We know when the series wrapped. We know what happens when it came to Netflix or whatever the streaming services they called it in the book. Any subsequent things, any awards, like all of that was covered and kind of woven into the story. And I appreciate that. Don't leave me hanging, because although I'm here for the romance, you've got me invested in his other stories. So I need to know, come on, what happened? Did they make it? Did he get it? Did somebody pick it up, or whatever? And speaking of the series, there was, he had a sister in this story, and she was a piece of work as well, a younger sister. And she was kind of like, what do I do with my life type thing as well. And she auditioned for his show, and she was actually a really good actress, and she got the part. So I thought that was a pretty good aside, a story with the two of them. And which brings me to the next thing I'm about to say. This particular story has a bunch of side stories, like novellas that the author has written to give us more about his sister, give us more about the co-director, give us more about other characters that kind of had big voices in this story. She gives us, a little bit about what happened to them and what they're doing now type thing. And I read the one with the sister because the guy that had he played had the lead in the TV series that Pierre was doing. The sister and him, they ended up getting together. So it was their story, so it was cute. There's a few more, but I have so many stories to read. I mean, I want to get to them because I am curious. Y'all know I normally am not like that about series, but it'll have to be like if I'm in a reading slump or if I just want something really quick to kind of get through, because like I said, they're all novellas. But yeah, I felt like everything about the story, it was really good. The only one thing that was, so Logan had, an issue with her parents because she didn't go into the family business and their expectations of her. I mean, there's a lot of pressure because she's the only child. These people got mad money and they're successful. And of course they want their legacy carried on, right? And she just was like, nah, y'all too critical, and ain't nothing I can do that's going to be right. So I'm going to just do my own thing. So there was some scenes with her parents, and they were awful to her. But, her dad wasn't as bad as the mom. But he let a lot of shit slide because, it's his wife or whatever. But then there was like a conversation on the phone, and, you could tell that they, finally woke up and realized, okay, this is our only daughter. We're getting older. She's in a relationship now. She could be, get married and have kids, and we're not a part of any of that. We need to fix this. And they talked about going to dinner, because she basically was like, I'm done with y'all. I'm gonna cut y'all out of my life because y'all don't treat me right. Y'all are doing too much or whatever. So they kept talking about this dinner that they were going to go to, and come to Jesus meeting to kind of show their support and to hash things out and talk about everything. And I think it was something that happened at the end of the book, but we didn't get to sit down and hear the conversation as the reader. It just was mentioned. And I would have liked to have maybe closed it out like that. Maybe them actually, like with Pierre going with her and they all actually sit down, because he was real supportive of her with her parents. You don't need to put up with that shit either, but having the four of them sit down and really talk about it and seeing, what everybody was willing to do to make the relationship work. And then maybe the two of them walking out hand in hand or something. So yeah, so that's the only thing I really wish I could have known what was going on at that dinner. But anyway, this sounds like a good place to wrap it up because I hear the garbage truck outside and they're very loud. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was such a good story, and I highly recommend it if you're looking for a romance with some depth and a secondary story with the TV series that Pierre was producing. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have read, I was about to say watched, if you have read Behind the Scenes by Christina C. Jones, let me know in the comments. What did you think about it? Make sure that you like this video and go ahead and take the opportunity to subscribe if you have not already. Thank you to everyone who has already subscribed to my channel. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you next week. Bye.